Laptops and notebooks have always been behind high-end desktop gaming PCs regarding performance. A PC enthusiast wouldn't normally look at notebooks to deliver the highest possible frame rates in modern AAA titles until now. With the release of Pascal's new architecture came also with it lower heat and power requirements. Gone are the days where we had to get laptop-specific graphics processors with reduced specs compared to their desktop counterparts. MSI have released several high-end notebooks showing us the very future of mobile gaming. I'm Marcus from TST, and today we're checking out this absolute monster of a notebook fitted with two GTX 1070s, the GT83VR6RE from MSI. Now, it landed at TST headquarters about a week ago, and so far I've been amazed by its performance. The GT83VR has blistering performance that beats 90% of desktop gaming PCs out there, so as you can imagine, I was pretty excited when MSI said I would be getting one in for review. The price of this notebook is very expensive. You're looking at around £3,099 here in the UK or $3,499 in the US. At this price, it's fair to say that most people would consider buying the GT83VR to do all of their gaming on as a total replacement to a desktop PC. But the sheer power of it means there will be zero compromises regarding performance, and the portability of the GT83VR will be very appealing to some people, especially if they're not home very often. Unfortunately, the notebook's weight is 5.5 kilograms when you include the batteries. It's hard to even consider this notebook as mobile. You would certainly find it a bit of a struggle carrying it around all day. That said, clearly the GT83VR provides a much easier way to game and work on the go than any desktop PC ever could. If we take a quick look at the dimensions, the GT83VR has a width of 45 centimeters, a depth of 34 centimeters, and a height of 4 centimeters at the front and 7 centimeters at the back. But at a glance, it has a very similar design to MSI's previous high-end notebooks. But when you've got such a sleek design like this, why on earth would you change it? But the GT83VR still rocks that premium brushed metal shell with a slightly raised MSI logo that of course lights up with a white LED. Opening up the notebook for the first time, we get to see that 18.4 inch 1920 by 1080 IPS 60Hz display, and it left me a little confused as to why you'd put two GTX 1070s into a notebook with a screen limited to only 1080p at 60Hz. Surely this is complete overkill. Well, the first thing I did after installing all my games was to overclock the panel, and I managed to bump it up to a massive 100 Hz. The testing that I did with the panel, it seemed to handle the overclock just fine, but of course overclocking any display like this may significantly reduce its life expectancy. Viewing angles are perfect as you'd expect from an IPS display with fantastic colour accuracy. The GT83VR also has a built-in webcam supporting full 1080p resolution at 30 frames per second. For speakers, MSI have gone with the highly regarded company Dyn Audio. The speakers are placed on the front of the laptop as opposed to the rear, which helps deliver a more natural sound. It features a true 4.1 speaker system, meaning 4 individual speakers at the front and one tiny subwoofer built into the bottom of the notebook. The GT83VR also comes with a full mechanical keyboard from SteelSeries, fitted with true Cherry MX brown switches. Brown switches are a great middle ground for typing and gaming, which suits this notebook perfectly. MSI have made a great choice. But to the right of the keyboard there is 3 buttons, one for turning on the notebook's fans to full speed, the middle button turns off the notebook's display, and the last button powers the notebook on and off. Just below those buttons, of course, we find the trackpad. Now, I should expect anyone using this notebook for gaming to use an external mouse, but for general desktop use, the trackpad gets the job done nicely. The surface is extremely smooth to the touch, and the left and right clicks feel extremely high quality and give off a nice tactile bump. The trackpad also has a little party trick. It has a numpad integrated into it, and I must say it looks absolutely stunning. You can activate it simply by pressing the top left corner to bring it up. I found it very responsive and never once did I activate it by mistake, and if you're using an external mouse, leaving it on all the time gives you a full keyboard layout. Jumping around to the left side, the GT83VR has a microphone and headphone jack, has an optical out, has 3 USB 3.0 ports, it has an XC/HC memory card reader, and lastly a headphone port that links up to the ESS Sabre audio DAC, which provides a 32-bit or 384 kHz sampling rate and drives headphones ranging from 16 ohms to 600 ohms. The DAC provides a very high quality clear audio signal, better than any onboard audio or inbuilt DACs I've ever heard before. Moving on to the right side, there's another 2 USB 3.0 ports, and on the back of the notebook there's one DisplayPort 1.2 that will allow you to select up to 120 Hz on an external monitor. We get one Thunderbolt 4 connection, a HDMI 2.0 port that will support 4K at 60 Hz, again on an external monitor. Next to that we find the DC input, which connects to the rather large arrangement of cables and power bricks. This is due to the heavy power requirements of the dual 1070s. Now each power brick provides 330 watts of power. It would have been really nice if MSI could have implemented a way of only using one power pack, so the notebook was a lot more mobile and easier to carry, maybe with SLI completely disabled, if of course that was even possible. But lastly to the DC input we get the killer gigabit LAN. So let's run through the specs of the GT83VR and see how it delivers all that gaming performance. The processor MSI have used is the Intel Skylake i7 6820HK with 4 cores, 8 threads running at a base frequency of 2.7 GHz with a max turbo frequency of 3.6 GHz. But storage, the notebook comes fitted with 2 128GB PCIe M.2 SSDs running in RAID 0. For extra storage, the GT83VR comes fitted with a 1TB hard drive. Using Crystal Disk Mark, the read and write speeds of the drives are pretty amazing, and it leaves most desktop PCs crying in shame. Memory, the GT83VR has the latest DDR4 architecture running at speeds of 2400 MHz with over a 40% faster speeds than previous generations. The notebook comes fitted with 32GB in total, so it will handle even the most demandingest 3D applications with ease. The GT83VR comes fitted with Bluetooth 4.1 and killer combo wireless 802.11ac. Now there really isn't any shortcomings with this notebook at all. But moving on to the GPUs, as you already know, it comes fitted with 2 GTX 1070s, but how the GT83VR goes about cooling them is quite something. It uses MSI's Cooler Boost Titan, hence the Titan in the notebook's name. It pulls cold air from the bottom and exits it straight out the back. The Cooler Boost Titan consists of 2 fans with 29 blades cooling the GPUs, plus one 23 blade fan that cools the CPU. At idle, the GT83VR is extremely quiet, and this is how it sounds. And this is how it sounds when gaming under full load. And lastly, with the fans on full power. So that about wraps up the features of the GT83VR. It's time to see how it performs, so let's jump straight into some epic benchmarks. I will also include overall CPU and GPU temperatures to give buyers as much information as possible so they can get an idea of what to expect when gaming with the GT83VR. Let's do this.
Silence.
Whoa, what a powerhouse. The GT83VR's performance is staggering, pretty much maxing out everything at 1080p, providing more than enough performance at 1440p and pushing high frame rates even at 4K. I tried the notebook out with my HTC Vive as well, and it was a perfect companion. The GT83VR squares up to any desktop PC and delivers one cold blow to its face, and even has the cheek to laugh about it afterwards. If you're in the market for buying a new desktop gaming PC but need something a little bit more mobile, you've got to check this thing out. Overall, the GT83VR gets a totally silenced gold award with a score of 9 out of 10 if they could have just made the power bricks that little bit more manageable, but it seems in this day and age no piece of technology is perfect. But anyway guys, I've been Mark from Totally Silenced Tech. I hope you've enjoyed the review. Goodbye.